She said it in court, and we all gasped because we couldn't believe it.
He's the former Bachelor who says he was targeted by a woman who faked a pregnancy.
I have done nothing except get pregnant by the Bachelor!
I talk with Clayton Echard to get his side of this crazy story. I'm Angenette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. When Clayton Echard starred on season 26 of The Bachelor, he knew it would bring him some notoriety and attention. He gained some fans, but he also got some attention that no one would ever want when a woman contacted him online after his star turn on the show and said she wanted to work with him. By that time, Clayton was working as a realtor. The woman who contacted him was named Laura Owens. Clayton says he and Laura met up once, just once. And one thing led to another, and you know. But Clayton is adamant that he and Laura Owens didn't have the type of interaction that would lead to a pregnancy. Clayton says after he rejected Laura's desire to date him, Laura claimed she was pregnant with his baby. She wasn't, despite the claims she's made as recently as last year. Take a look.
I know. This is so inappropriate. I asked for you because I said I didn't know if they were real or not. I really still don't even know when they put all their guns drawn on me. I'm sorry. This is so.
Hey, just two, Mikey and you said.
4, 6, 8. There's going to be a report to the county. You guys realize that, right? This is before 7 o'clock in the morning.
I know.
And they have their guns. I mean, I've literally never even seen a gun in my life. Whatever the hell that is.
Laura, it's part of our job. Just release
You know what? It's not even 7 o'clock. I have done nothing except get pregnant by the Bachelor. Okay? It's not like I've gone and killed somebody.
Laura.
Now, that was Laura Owens, as Scottsdale police were executing a search warrant at the home where she lives with her parents in early 2025. That statement came months after a judge had determined in a civil trial that Laura Owens had not been pregnant with Clayton Echard's child. That judge referred Laura Owens to the Maricopa County Attorney for investigation because the judge believed that Owens had committed fraud and perjury by lying under oath, and the judge believed that Owens had tampered with evidence. In 2025, a grand jury indicted Laura Owens on 7 charges related to allegations that she committed a fraud when she lied about being pregnant with Clayton's baby and then lied about it under oath. Laura Owens was indicted by a grand jury a second time in November 2025 on allegations she did the same thing with a second man. Laura Owens has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges.
Did you want me to conduct a not guilty arraignment today on her behalf?
Would, Your Honor.
All right. Do you waive a reading of the charges and her rights?
Yes. We will waive formal reading and enter a plea of not guilty as to all charges.
All right. We'll enter a plea of not guilty on her behalf.
Owens' trial on the charges involving Clayton Echard was scheduled to begin in January 2026, but that didn't happen. She's on her second new lawyer this year, and 7 new charges were added late last year involving a second victim, Greg Gillespie.
Mr. Swirsky, since I have you here, have you received disclosure?
Yes, in the last week I have received approximately 6,000 pages of disclosure and 16 body cam recordings, all within like the last week from the state.
All right, so the state's been responsive to your needs in that area?
Very much so.
All right.
There's also an ongoing saga involving Laura Owens' parents and their attempt to file for bankruptcy. A petition filed by Owens' parents in 2025 was dismissed earlier this year. Laura Owens' father, Ron, is battling Parkinson's. He's a legendary talk radio show host who worked in San Francisco for decades. Laura has also filed for bankruptcy, and her case has raised a lot of eyebrows since she still participates in her equestrian activities, but claims she can't pay the judgment she owes to Clayton Echard. All right, so let's get this story straight from the horse's mouth, if you will. I want to bring in Clayton Echard. He is one of the victims in this case. And Clayton, first of all, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining me. I want to know how you are doing, especially with the trial now being pushed back to July of 2026.
You know, I'm doing really great. This has been a long experience of multiple years now, but really everything became really good in my own eyes the second that we won in court last year and she was referred to the county attorney for prosecution. That really, to me, was the end of it for me as far as my involvement. I felt that from there forward, she was going to have to fight the county attorney on a daily basis, which is not a fun battle to have. So now it's just wins stacking upon wins. I was a little... Sure. I was a little bummed that we had to push it back from January out to July now, I think is what, it is. But that's because they tacked on double the charges. So to me, it's like, it's just a good sign that it's all going together now. And justice is going to be had. There's going to be greater accountability. I can't imagine a situation where she doesn't face some type of jail time.
And you're right. Obviously, there are double the charges now. There are 2 victims. It's not just you. Now there are charges involving Greg Gillespie,
Yes.
the second man in Maricopa County, that she's accused of trying to say, "Hey, I'm carrying your babies," which is just astonishing to me. Take me back, if you would, to 2023 and how you met Laura Owens.
Yeah, she had reached out to me on LinkedIn. She stated that she was trying to get a hold of my brokerage. And I just got my license at this point in time. And so she said, "Hey, I can't get a hold of anyone from your office, but I really want to work with you all. I think you guys are incredible at what you do." That should have probably been the red flag at first, because the company the brokerage I was at was good, but like wasn't world renowned or was known in town as the brokerage to go to. So, but nonetheless, I was excited. I got my license right away, just prior to that point, and I thought, here's my first client, and I'm getting a client because of my time on TV. So I sent her my information, and she was very flirty out the gate. But I was like, "Look, that's fine. I can keep it professional." And I did until there was a night where I had gotten high. I had smoked a little bit, and while I was high, she was texting me, and it was innocent at first, and then she sent a provocative photo, and in that state of mind, I said, "Hey, come over," and so she did, and we engaged sexually that night. We did not have sexual intercourse, which is important to state, but we did do some other things, and ultimately, she wanted me to date her from that point, and I told her no, and that was a one-time thing, and she grew agitated, and then after she couldn't take no for an answer that I wasn't going to date her, she decided to say she was pregnant 11 days later.
The thing that gets me about this is that in order to say that you're pregnant with somebody's child, you would at least have to be intimate. You would have to have actual, sexual intercourse. That didn't happen with you two.
Yeah.
There were other things, as you said, we won't, go into it, that took place, but it wasn't that. And so at first, were you like, are you joking? Like, are you serious?
Yes, but here's the thing, and this, unfortunately, from my past, when I played football, there's a term that's called trapping, and it's when a woman essentially says she's on birth control, or maybe she is or she's not, but then she ends up getting pregnant by a guy who might be a first-round draft pick or might have money. And so it was something that I had seen happen to my former teammates that made it to the NFL, where women are like, "Yeah, I'm on the pill," and then they became pregnant, and then now they get money from that athlete. And so I thought she did the same thing to me. It was a term and something I was familiar with athletes, celebrities, that, there are some women that want to acquire those resources from a man, and so they get pregnant by the man. So I thought she potentially inseminated herself with what my own fluid, ran to the bathroom and pushed it up herself. So that's what I was concerned about. Because I had seen it happen in the past, I figured, well, here, it's now my turn to fall victim to this.
Wow. So you were thinking, oh my God, she may actually be pregnant with my baby because of this whole trapping phenomenon.
Yes. Exactly.
Yikes. Did you? Is there any indication that you've ever gotten that she knew who you were because of your time on The Bachelor.
Yeah, I mean, just because she kept saying she never watched the show and she's dated all these celebrities and big time people and she doesn't care about my status or reputation or what I've done. And that just to me is another, red flag. It's like, look, if you're trying to convince me you don't know who I am, you probably do. Because I found that in the dating world anyways. It's the girls that are like, I don't even know who you are. And it's like, okay, I don't know where that came from. Like, apparently my friends told me you're this. And it's like, you're trying to convince me as if you don't care. And those are usually the ones that do care. And it's the girls that are just like, yeah, no, I know who you are. Like, I mean, whatever, do you want to talk about it or not, right? But she was in the camp of being like, I don't know who you are and I don't even care. It doesn't matter to me. And I was like, okay, I had an idea.
Interesting. You said that she wanted you to date her. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit more about that. Like when you're like, okay, I smoked a little bit, got a little high, we fooled around, that's about it, sorry. That was it, and then she wanted you to date her. Go into a little more detail with me about how that went down.
Yeah, that was next day. I was showing her homes. So after I showed her the homes, I was like, hey, I need to talk to you in my car. And brought her into my car and I said, hey, look, I made a mistake. I crossed a professional boundary that I shouldn't have. And I just want to apologize for doing that. She was like, hey, no, I really enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun and there's no need to apologize. I said, okay, well, thank you. But also I just want you to know that like, that can't happen going forward. That was just a one-time thing. And she started to cry, which was the first, I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And she was just like, I just feel like we had so much in common based on our discussions last night. And I really think that like, I get you and I could help you out so much and becoming the person that you want to be. And she, she's like, if you just give me a chance. And I just said, hey, we did have some great conversations, but ultimately I'm not looking to date or continue this beyond that point. So she kept begging me in my car. She's like, please, 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 just like give me a chance. And I finally, after like she asked 5-6 times and I politely shut her down, I finally said, Laura, no means no. Stop asking me. You're disrespecting me by asking after I've told you no. And now I'm getting agitated. And she instantly her face goes stone cold. And she just like looks at me. I remember getting chills all over my body at that point. Because the look she gave me, it was like something within her came up from beneath. It just felt very otherworldly. And she just looked at me and she's like, no, I get it. She's like, have a great day. And got out of my car and closed the door. And I just remember thinking, I don't know what that was, but that's not the end of it, whatever that is. Little did I know, or I didn't think it was going to turn into what it did. But yeah, it was a really weird encounter.
So fast forward, she files this lawsuit against you. And it's like a paternity lawsuit, and she's basically saying, you're the daddy. Give me money. There are people, supporters of yours and the other victims who've said, this isn't about money for her. But, she took you to court and was seeking, child support and things like that. So obviously she did this. I mean, she filed a lawsuit. That's a big step. It's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's not about the money, though. I mean, what we've uncovered between me and the previous victims is that she does this from a place of self-hate or hate towards men. When men reject her, she decides to try to destroy them to make them feel as badly as she feels. It's also a self-love component. I think she lacks a ton of self-love. And so she's basically a bully that tries to make people hurt as badly as she is hurting. Unfortunately, she has help from her family, who I think also share those similar beliefs. And so she's had help. But it's not about the money. It's just more so that she has money or had money because her family was very wealthy. And so she could drain guys in court, take them to court over nothing with no factual evidence, and just beat them down to where they ran out of money faster than she did. And that's what she's done for so long. And so thankfully, I was able to kind of go head to head, monetarily speaking, and not back down. And now the wells run dry for her. But she also lost the court of public opinion a while back. So now, again, like I said, she's fighting and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, but she's fighting against the county attorney, not me. So, it was never about the money. It was more just about her imposing control over men and basically just draining them of their financial resources and taking away their power.
Wow. You said that her family has helped her. I mean, we know that her father, I mean, he's got a myriad, a whole host of health issues.
Yeah.
He was very, well compensated in his job as a talk radio show host when he worked at KGO in San Francisco. I mean, he gets I think it's a pretty healthy pension. Most people would be over the moon to get a $20,000 a month pension. I know that he's filed for bankruptcy now, which I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around and figure that out. There's a GoFundMe going. So I don't quite understand it all. I'm sure there's something more going on there. Do you believe that the family was funding her legal expenses and these legal bills for a while, and that has possibly tapped them out, and they were, I don't know, egging this on in a way? Or did they believe her and feel that she was the victim here? Or what is your thought on that, since you've been living with this now for more than 2 years?
Yeah, no, her family knows they're all wrong, and they don't believe in any of the nonsense they all push. I think, truthfully, from what I've heard, they think they're better than everybody else. They have that belief that they're like superhumans. They're bigger than like the dad with his reputation. The mom was apparently a successful publicist or something of that nature. So they kind of turn their nose up to the common folks. That's really honestly like what they think they're just better than most people. And so, yeah, no, they don't, they for that reason, they think they're invincible. And for the longest time, they had influence and money. And so they could get out of a lot of BS, and they could create a lot of it and then also walk out with nothing more than a slap on the wrist, if that. There's never been accountability with this family because, again, they could just pay their way out of it or use their influence. They had quite a bit of influence in San Francisco. And so with certain powerful connections. So with that, they would leverage it.
So Clayton, let's talk about legal fees and legal bills. I mean, this is not cheap. So you had to kind of wage this fight. I know Mike Maricini, there was a GoFundMe set up for him, and he was able to successfully kind of win his part of this, which, good for him. I mean, how are you able to afford this? Because I just can't even imagine having to, fight a lawsuit and hire an attorney and fight a lawsuit when, like if somebody said like, you're my father of my child, you're the mother of my child, whatever the scenario. And you're like, there is just no way.
Yeah.
I mean, how on earth were you able to even handle this?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. And yeah, had she had tried to pull this on me, well, I guess before my time on The Bachelor, but she probably wouldn't have pulled it on me then. I financially wouldn't have been in a place where I could, support myself and fight through all of this. But thankfully, I'm doing very well in my life, and so what's agitating is that people that don't have the funds, it's like they can't fight for themselves, and these, again, we're talking multiple six figures in legal bills, and when somebody's innocent but they can't fight because they can't afford it. Sometimes they're presumed guilty because it's like, well, you're not coming to court, you're not pleading your case, so you must be guilty. That's originally what I was told before I tried to get a lawyer. I was like, I'm gonna ignore this. I got served papers, they're BS. I'm not even gonna answer them. And somebody told me, they go, hey, if you don't answer, they're gonna submit a default judgment, and it's probably gonna go against you for not showing up. And I was like, wait, what? I have to answer to this? Like, there's no kids. Why do I have to answer to a parenting plan? But that's when I found out that like people can file whatever they want in the court system. I mean, I could sue you for stealing a sucker from me, and I could sue you and write up documents, and they would get taken to court. Now, that's something that ridiculous would probably get thrown out right away. But the point I'm getting at is that anyone can fill out anything that they want, and then once you're in it, I mean, it's just lawyers are $500, an hour. So like here we are 2.5 years later, it just adds up. But thankfully, I'm like, I have the resources now. She picked a bad time to come after me, and I was like, I'm gonna fight because I feel I need to. It's because it's become greater than me. It's the other guys, that are now getting their justice, and so I'm like, I am doing this because I have the ability, I have the energy to do so right now.
I'm sure you've seen the body-worn camera footage of the Scottsdale Police Department executing the search warrant on her house from January.
Yeah.
She's saying, I didn't do anything wrong. All I did was get pregnant by the, effing Bachelor, things like that. I mean, she seems so adamant about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think she actually has convinced herself of this, or is she just like putting on a show in your view?
I would love to know if there's some type of diagnosable condition, disease, disorder, something that she has. She won't go, my understanding is she won't go be seen by a medical health professional, or mental health professional. She's not willing to admit she has a problem. So yeah, it makes you wonder, like, do you actually believe this false reality? Is this actually real for you? Because there are conditions and disorders where people can convince themselves of an alternate reality. And so I don't know. My belief is that she's never faced accountability ever in her life, because her parents have always been able to get her out of it through either money or through influence. So therefore, you just have a case of somebody that's never been reprimanded, never been held accountable, and that therefore is not willing to take any responsibility for their actions. So I believe she knows. Well, I know she knows she's faking it. She bought a pregnancy belly. Like, you don't buy a fake pregnancy bump unless you're trying to fake a pregnancy. So she knows. She's just never faced accountability, so she can't take a single ounce of responsibility.
Do you know if they found that fake belly during the execution of the search warrant?
Yeah, I've heard from some little birdies that there's been some type of evidence found similar in that nature. I mean, I can't say with full certainty. I've not seen it, but she didn't know that live stream wherever she first got called out for having a fake belly bump. Neither of us knew it was being live streamed. So when she's shifting it all around, we had an audience that was watching of like 10,000 people apparently that are like, bellies don't move like that. And so, yeah, there's been apparently receipts and such that have been found proving that does exist in her possession.
Now, I reached out to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office and asked whether they recovered evidence of a prosthetic stomach. The spokesperson for that office told me that she couldn't comment on the case because it's still open. You said that she admitted to the doctoring of the medical records. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, she said it in court, and we all gasped because we couldn't believe it. She's like, well, yeah, I might have altered them, but just a little bit. And we were like, oh, just a little bit.
What does a little bit mean? Yeah,
just a little bit, a little smidge. I just changed my, it was my sister's ultrasound, and I made it mine. She didn't say that, but she did send a video to me of a belly that her dad was touching in the hospital, and it was her sister's belly, but she cut off from here up, so you couldn't see the face. She claimed it was her.
On Thanksgiving, there was a post on Ron Owens's Facebook page, just around Thanksgiving, where he's saying, I'm thankful, but this year basically has been terrible. There was this raid on my house. I don't know if I'd call it a raid. I mean, that's how search warrants are done, for people who don't know, that they show up in SWAT gear. They were very nice.
They're very
they were very polite.
Accommodating is the word I'm looking for.
I mean, for people who don't know, anytime a search warrant is executed, they do kind of an analysis of the situation. And they look at how dangerous it could be. You just never know what you could encounter when you go to somebody's house. Right. So they always send the SWAT team. That's just how this works. Yeah. And so they went up and they said, hey, Laura, can we talk to you? This is how it went down. And so they were pretty nice to them, and even helped her dad get out of bed. But, he described it as a SWAT raid. I'm just trying to clarify for people who may not be aware about how search warrants are executed. This is how it goes. They were pretty darn nice. So it could have been a lot worse. They could have kicked the doors down, and they did not do that.
No.
So my point being, though, he's saying it's a SWAT raid. It's been a terrible year. He's had all these health problems. And then, he says his daughter, there's been this smear campaign and she's been mischaracterized, etc. What's your response to that?
Yeah, well, then I think at the end it was also, if you guys would so be willing, like, please donate to our GoFundMe.
Correct.
It's like a money grab. It's just hey, we're really hurt. We're just going to give you all this BS, and then sob story, and then we're going to try to get you to help us fund this whole thing, because we now are getting piled up with multiple lawyers and all these legal fees we can't keep up with, and if we can't keep up with it, then we're gonna we won't have as much power. So. I don't even know if he wrote it. It's probably, it was probably Laura's doing or her mother's. And it's just pathetic, that they're trying to create this sob story. The funny thing is I saw like the GoFundMe raised a couple $100. I mean, so it raised at first, like, I think 6 figures, which was so sad, because I'm like, these people are all getting conned by this family that is using these, this money for legal fees. Even if they're technically not, like, oh, we're using it for his treatment. Yeah, but that money that you're using for his treatment would have been spent on paying for legal fees. Mm-hmm. So now either way, whichever way you mix the money up, it's going, you don't deserve this money, and it's going towards paying for her stuff. But I saw that and I was like, hey, look, they only got $300 or whatever on this last GoFundMe round. So to me, it was actually just more, kind of just warmed my heart. I was like, no one believes your stuff anymore, guys. It's like you're literally at your last leg. Like, you're trying to scrape together pennies at this point, and you have no power.
Clayton, I know that you have a lot of support, but is it mostly men who are coming out of the woodwork and saying, like, hey, I know what it's like to be in your shoes, or do you have a lot of women supporting you? I mean, who is supporting you?
I mean, it's probably, if I had to guess, like 97% women.
Really?
My Instagram audience, I can see the demographics, I can see the breakdown. I have 93% of my audience are women and 7% are men. So it's probably somewhere right around there, because that's how she went to social media to try to defame me. So my followers decided to group together and support me and follow along and now seek justice. And so I think I really want to highlight that this movement is being led by women. And it's important I state that, because for one, I'm so grateful for women. I also, just because one woman does this doesn't mean that I have a vendetta against all women. And I have to highlight that, because there's people that are saying that I'm becoming a men's rights activist and that I hate women and that I want there to be a reverse Me Too movement. And it's like, I don't want any of that. Okay, I don't like men's rights activists. I don't support them. I support equality. I just want men to be believed when they're victims, and I also want people to pause before all the facts get out and let them get out before they judge somebody. There shouldn't be guilty till proven innocent, and that's what happened to me whenever this all first came out. Everyone's like, he's an asshole, he's guilty. This is how he was on The Bachelor. So I just want people to take a pause, and I'm like, let's wait until all the facts are out before we decide to cast judgment. But also, we shouldn't believe all women. We shouldn't believe all men. We should believe what's true, and that requires having some patience for the facts to get out. So I just want to highlight that, because, like, if it wasn't for women, I wouldn't have support, and I wouldn't be as far as I am in this case. So I'm fully aware of that. So I'm like, look, I'm so grateful, and I just want people to know that this is not some type of movement that's in the works. I could never imagine a world without women. That would be terrible. That's what also gets me sometimes in trouble with stuff, dating TV shows, and then this situation. It's like, I'm joking, but maybe I love women too much. But I'm like, look, like, women, they're such a beauty. It's just, it's. I'm so grateful for what I have, the support. If it was just men, there wouldn't be a movement, and I'd probably, be in a mountain of debt, and I'd be losing the battle, and it'd be a completely different outcome.
Yeah. Well, you probably gained a few more women supporters with that whole thing. No, I'm just teasing you, though.
Yeah. You gotta be lighthearted about some stuff. I mean, this is a serious matter, but
yeah.
I've also had to, I've tried to find some moments where I can just laugh and smile and be like, it's gonna all be okay, and it has been. Like, I'm in a really great mental space right now, and it makes me even happier that I'm seeing the previous victims now get their day in court and finally getting some justice. It's been awesome.
Yeah. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. That's what they say. So
there you go.
Clayton, I really appreciate you talking with me. It's been really nice talking with you, and we're going to continue to follow the story very closely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Clayton Echard has taken to Instagram and launched a campaign to have Laura Owens' TED Talk, where she talks about being abused by a man taken down.
It's the loud voice of the man sitting behind you who helped you with your luggage.
He's speaking to a woman who's incessantly sobbing. He's spewing insults at her, demeaning her, and the more she cries, the harsher they become. She can barely get out a word to respond to him through her tears. My name is Laura Owens, and as you can tell, I wasn't the hero in this story. I was the crying woman in seat 22H.
That talk is not about Clayton. It's about another man who dated Laura, who says the story she tells is not true. Recently, Laura Owens was back in court for a settlement conference where she was offered a plea agreement.
We're going to discuss, and you can ask questions about the plea agreement that you've been offered in this case, and the options that you have in this case and the potential range of penalties. I'm going to try to just go over all of that with you. Do you have any questions for me before we start?
Not right now, thank you.
But Laura Owens wasn't in the mood to play Let's Make a Deal. Her new attorney asked for more time to review the discovery in the case, which Clayton Echard called a stall tactic.
The big thing I want to focus on is not allowing an extension of the plea deal simply because she has a history of delaying. She's done it. She's on her, I think, 6th or 7th lawyer at this point. And it's just going to continue. My understanding is he's come into the case a few months ago, and this feels like an 11th hour push to say I can't access the material. You know, to me, if you couldn't access the material, you should have accessed it day one, and every single day you should have been following up to get that evidence. I'm all for due process, but to me, this just feels like an extension of her tactic carried out by him to extend it. And it's been 3 years. I'm tired. I know we're all tired. And a ton of evidence, blatantly obvious. She's admitted on the stand to medical fraud. She's admitted to certain lies. It's a clear-cut case. She's guilty. There's no reason to drag it out and say the terabytes of information are going to somehow change something. But my biggest focus is just, and I don't know the answer to this, but to me, a little bit of common sense. When did you come in? When did you get the material first sent to you? And then how hard did you really try to access this material? To me, a lawyer should be trying to access it every single day, not waiting in the 11th hour and saying he hasn't had enough time to review it. That just feels like a delay.
Owens will be back in court later in July. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.